What's that, Jeremy? Yeah, we're here at CrossFit Central. Oh, level 4 coaches only? You could sit this one out, Fern.
God, if you guys really want to know why we're here at CrossFit Central, Jeremy Thiel, OG in the CrossFit community. So stick around if you want to hear OGs talking about OG stuff.
Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your host, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
As both coaches and affiliate owners
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
All right, welcome back, dudes talking dads.
No, that's not the name of
Four-
the podcast.
4 dads just hanging around. We found out Jeremy. Welcome, Jeremy. His daughter, 2 days older than Madison, 3rd child.
Correct.
What's one thing different having a baby amidst the pandemic than the other two?
I don't know if the pandemic, I mean, I get to spend more time with her, maybe that's it, but...
Is that good or bad? I'm still undecided.
Well, my baby, it's good. Me and my wife, that might be different, but...
She's like, you got to get out of here, bro.
Just get out of here. Go to work. But no, just having, she really was, not planned. We have a 9 and a 5.
Hopefully she's not listening.
Well, she can listen later, but she's loved because, having the first one.
That was the line. She's
really,
loved.
really. Well, it's crazy because the first one, I was just I didn't know what I was doing. I was totally lost. Dad, 12 months till I even knew what it was, and then my son grew on me. And then my second one, I was much more prepared, but still not really where I'm now. With the third one, I can just be so present and fall in love with her immediately and just hold her. And I like goo eyes and all that good stuff. So it's amazing. I'm so glad we had a third one because I can just hold her and just totally enjoy it.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that day myself.
3 kids?
No, where I can enjoy my child.
Do you have one?
We have one.
Yeah. So the first one is it's just you're just trying to, you just don't know anything.
So it's a shit show.
Survival mode. I mean, in fairness, Fern, it's a shit show for you. You have 2.
I have 2.
And it's...
Both of them are insane.
Yeah, both are insane. So, Fern, back in the day, was this guy one of the guys? He was one of the guys.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that you are a part of CrossFit history. Is that fair?
100%.
Yeah. I think back in the day, this is 2007, 8, 9-ish. I think most people in the CrossFit space probably knew who Jeremy Thiel was.
Yeah, I mean, he was up there with Spiel was recognized back then. Of course, OPT was a big name prior to kind of Khalipa coming on board. So I'm thinking even prior to 2009, 6, 7, when I first got involved in CrossFit, not only from an athletic perspective, but also from an affiliate perspective, you were the man. You were the man. I mean, you were just talking 6th, 7th in 2007, right? And that was back, so correct me if I'm wrong, 5K run, CrossFit Total, and then the Hopper event, which eventually got dubbed 2007 and a later CrossFit Games, right? The jerks and the pull-ups. But then 2008, the CrossFit Games documentary, Every Second Counts, you're on the podium. They didn't really feature you throughout it, but you kind of snuck right in there just like Jason did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, they picked 5. Savon did, that they followed and all that good stuff. And then, I was right up there. It was interesting because I came in, I wasn't in the final heat. So I was in 11th place. And so I did the workout with 11 through 20, the final, and then I set kind of the number, and then whoever had to split that time to beat my time, depending where I went on the podium. So it was a unique setup because I wasn't in the top 10. And so I jumped because it was every second counts the way they scored it.
Yeah, that was cool.
And so that put me on the podium. But I remember
What was your time? How fast did you finish that?
Oh, I can't. It's 2:30 or 2:40.
Oh, my God.
So for reference, the event was 30 squat clean
Correct.
and overheads, basically a thruster.
Cluster, pretty much.
But it was at 155 for the men, which in 2008, people were losing their minds. That's heavy.
Yeah.
That's
Just for
heavy.
the record, that's still heavy. If you have
that
a
didn't
meeting.
get unheavy.
But and then the way they did it, I don't know if they did it for the previous heats, but the last heat, it was basically the way they staggered the start. So whoever finished first, which happened to be Khalipa, was the winner of the competition. I think him and Josh Everett were I think Everett fails a rep towards the end, and no one was paying attention to this new guy, Jason Kalipa, and he comes out. I think the footage they have is actually from his father's phone or point and shoot. Like, no one was paying attention to him.
What year did you open your affiliate?
2005.
Rapid fire.
Damn.
Rapid fire.
Good answer. No, because I wanted to, because this is 3 years later. So how did you find out about the CrossFit Games? Because it was still kind of like a weird, like you had to get a weird underground, like somebody knock on your door and do like
Slid
the
a letter to the door.
Yeah, it was, so I was a CrossFit head. Like, I breathe, eat, live CrossFit.
Right.
So in 2005, me and my sister, Carrie Kepler, went to our first cert in Golden, Colorado. It was November 2005.
That was
in
at one
Golden.
of the police bases?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And so we went out and walked in. Anybody of CrossFit was there.
Who was it? Like, name some of the people.
The Nancy girls from Glassman, Lauren, founders, then anyone from Josh Everett, Bergner, Annie, Eva, Nicole, Amundsen.
All named workouts basically at this point.
Yeah, right.
And then like even Dan John was there. So it's just like all the affiliates, anybody was there. And when you walked in, it was like when I had a flash. It was like I saw the future and I said, this is going to change the fitness industry. And whatever y'all are doing, I'm in.
But obviously, you must have thought that because you wound up there. So, I mean, whatever you were doing prior to that got you to travel to Golden, Colorado.
Right. So it's interesting. So like fitness and strength training was my life. I grew up in West Texas football, strength conditioning, high school football. So powerlifting, weightlifting was all my forte. And I almost lived for the off season as much as I did for the football season.
Just to be in the gym.
I loved it. So I did powerlifting all growing up through junior or high school. And then I got into strength conditioning at summer camps with the high school after I graduated. They invited me back to be a coach. And so I worked with junior high athletes and I was teaching them. And so that was my deal. And so I got introduced to kettlebells in about 2003. And so Coach Davies was Renegade training out of like Kansas City back in the day. And the internet, you find these secret archives. And they were talking about kettlebells and I got super into kettlebells. So I looked at Pavel's cert with Renegade or what I forget their cert back then, but
RKC.
Yeah.
And it was like travel to St. Paul. It was like $2,000 plus hotel, and I was broke. So I was like, wow, I don't think I'm going to do this. But then CrossFit showed up, and it was $1,000 plus $500 affiliate fee, and you can open your own gym. So I was like, I'm going to go with the CrossFit. And I've done all these things before. I understand it. I just didn't do it for a time. And so it was like that was pretty much my whole deal. And college, I did triathlon, so I got into endurance.
So you really had it all between the strength training.
Except for gymnastics, and that was my Achilles heel, really, and my overall. I just didn't have the gymnastics proponent going into the sport. But, yeah, my base background was power, strength, speed, all that good stuff, and then endurance.
So 2005, 6, and then leading into the games, what's an indication back then that, hey, I'm actually good at this thing?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Because I don't know if you heard. Let me interrupt for a second. 2007, I had an 830 Fran. So that's a pretty big deal back.
Yeah, I don't know how that didn't make it around the internet. That's very weird.
I'm surprised I didn't hear about that.
But funny enough, like I showed up at my level 1. I'm like, I'm good. Like, y'all gonna want to watch this thing go down. So what was your indication that you were actually good at this thing?
Well, I mean, my first cert, like I did 21 unbroken 95-pound thrusters.
And that was unusual.
I was about to die. Funnel vision, ears ringing, going up to the pull-up,
taste in your mouth.
go to the pull-up bar, and it's like I did 5 strict pull-ups because I couldn't kip, and then I'm kicking, jumping off the bench, trying to do it, and back then it was a 3-day cert. And so we did 2 workouts a day, and you're just like, by the end I swore they started telling us about rhabdo. It's like, I got it. Like I got it. Like, what is this? I'm gonna have it because I can't do any of this. So James Fitzgerald, which was OPT at the time, started doing. He was loading his workouts online, and then there was a guy. I'm blanking on his name. Was kind of competing back.
AFT.
No, well, yes, they were training, but there was another guy that was in Florida that was putting up workouts back in. They were going back and forth on YouTube, and so I jumped in just to do the workouts, and I was right there. I was like, I can do this, same times, and I'm like right behind them in a few seconds. So I was like, okay, if James kind of like was a leader in the time with the workouts, and he was always posting on .com and all that stuff. So that was kind of my gauge to know where I sat with it, and I was pretty decent.
Do you remember how much money you won for third place in 2008?
No money.
No money at all?
Did you get, like,
they were handing out high fives.
I think they were giving like gift certificates to was it Panda,
Panda
Express?
Express,
was like
get some
I'm
lo
not
mein,
even kidding. It was
get some
Panda Express.
chicken chow mein
It's like
here.
Panda Express. And
That
it
was
like a couple-
2007.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
what I'm talking
2008, I want to say they gave the winner maybe $500.
It was like $500
about. Yeah. It wasn't a lot.
Not enough.
Hadn't quite
Not
hit their
enough to
stride
retire
yet.
on.
Yeah. So so it's just like I was super into it. They launched the PDF on .com. I saw it. One of my friends that worked with us back then, he still was here with us. I said, hey, let's go to this. And I was signed up, flew out. His flight, he had a rainstorm, so he didn't even show up till the next day. I got there Friday. He showed up on Saturday, and we started doing the event. And so I was just loved it. It was an awesome experience. And it moved into day 2, and I was in the top 10, and we were about to do the total and all that stuff, and I started Spiel and James and Josh, and they were just getting psyched up, and I was like, and it was like another one of those moments that I looked at them, and I was a competitor, I was a powerlifter, and so I knew, but I looked at them, I said, it was like another one of those aha moments, like this is actually a sport, and these guys are not here to have fun, they're competing. And that's when I got what I wanted to do for 2008. I said, I'm going to win this thing. And so I went out, I was so far behind. It was like placement. There's no way I'd catch up. And, and I was pretty decently strong, but, it was no way that year. And so that was 2007. And then in 2008, I just said, I'm going to win. I'm going to win the thing. And so, it paired up. And, 4 events wasn't – back then that was a lot. 4 events was a lot of workouts, no matter.
I did the 3 in one day. I think you did like the Fran, that short distance run, and there was like the burpee deadlift.
Was the hill sprint?
In 2008.
That was
it was
2009. Hill sprint was 2009.
And then there was the 5 rounds of 5 deadlift, 10 burpee over the bar, and then day 2 was the event.
It wasn't burpee over bar yet. It was just burpee and clap overhead.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch those videos, there's a lot of different standards happening on that.
Yeah.
So
and the mat was like 100 plus, 150 degrees, and people burning their hands.
Hot,
in this day and age, 2021, 22, if someone's like, I'm going to go to the games, Fern and I will tell them they're crazy, you're not going to the games. But there's kind of a very specific path, like you would hire a coach and follow programming, determine what your weakness is. What did it look like in 2007 when you decided, I want to win this thing?
We were doing, so it was pretty much like you did a strength and you did a Metcon.
Every day.
Every day, for sure. But that was all you did, right? And so the breadth of it, the volume wasn't there yet. So you just didn't understand. So it was sheerly intensity and strength. How much can I lift? How can I execute the movements? And how fast can I go? And so we were just banging and going. So if you do a 3-minute Fran, get it to 2:30. Go faster, go harder, right? And the whole concept of overtraining is like, no, you just go hard, right? And
that wasn't a thing back in the day, overtraining.
No, it didn't exist.
No, it was like basically an hour, but you would, like Jeremy just said, it was like you would hammer yourself during that hour, but then you'd be done.
No, I feel like that the height of people really dousing themselves with intensity was like 9, 10, where like people were just like, there is no cap on the threshold here. We're just going to light ourselves on fire.
Pacing wasn't even really a thing. It was just basically
Like
flooring
Jeremy
it.
said, 21.
And
If you were
whoever lasted
pacing-
the longest
No.
won.
So 2009, that year, so we increased the workouts by 110%.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2009 changed the scope of the sport,
Right.
and put it into the next generation of what it was going to be, because we went from 4 workouts to 9 workouts. And so the capacity just jumped drastically. And so it stretched the mind, because what was possible just went up infinitely. And how can you stay paced with that type of volume?
I think the same thing happened in 2012 when Dave threw the 100-pound dumbbells in there and the internet broke.
Well, it seems like every year the games kind of dictates, after 2008, it was like, chest to bar. or we're going heavier, 155, and then like Jeremy said, 2009, volume becomes a thing, and then a couple years later becomes let's go heavy. I mean, what was the year they had like 405-pound deadlifts on the tennis stadium?
Ooh.
10.
It was at Home Depot.
Right, that was heavy though.
So that was 12.
There were
Yeah.
people that couldn't lift it.
Right. Oh
Right?
yeah.
So it was like every year the games kind of sets that, and I think, to a fault, people buy in like I need that. Where it's like, no, that's the best of the best. You still need to do this affiliate thing and just work out for an hour a day and have fun.
Yeah.
And speaking of, so back then when you are doing that and you own your affiliates 4 or 5 years old now, how do you make that happen? How do you let your member, or did you not let your members know like, hey, I'm third place at the games. I need to do this. You guys, you still need to do this thing that we've been doing here.
Yeah, is very interesting because, I always I have very professional mindedness of what we were doing to service our clients. And I feel like a really balanced approach to, hey, this is a service we provide to our clients, and this is the programming and how we do it. And this is our competition team, and this is when we train, and this is how we do it. And we didn't really blur those lines. And we were in there. But what was great was not only was I competing, but my sister was competing. We had a team competing because not only I was finishing third, or our team was finishing 2009. I got 12th. My sister got third. We had girls that were 11th, 16th. Our team got second in 2009. And year after year, like our team was in there competing. So we had a squad of people, just like we see today. What we did, we had about 10 people, 12 people that were competing, and 3 or 4 were individuals in their team. So it was that group atmosphere that is that ball of energy that's rolling. So we see it, Mayhem, or the girls in, Las Vegas. It's like there's so much to a group dynamic that changes the game. And we were doing that back then. So we were so far ahead of the curve. Before, what I talk about, like, genetics matter. And like you say, like, I'm going to the games. And it's like, well, no, you're not. Well, genetics matter. And a lot of times.
You are the build. You are the perfect build. Like, what are you, 5'10"?
5'10".
And you're probably like 200 right now?
Yeah.
But back then you're probably like 180?
Yeah, I was 185.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the best, I don't want to
195.
throw this comparison out, but you and Fern side by side, basically same body.
Not even close. But maybe back in the day. I was 185 back in the day.
No, but
Two spots out.
There are always outliers, the Spielers or like the Spencer Hendels or the Spencer Nicks that we were talking about earlier, big dudes, little dudes, but you are the CrossFit body type.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I would say that
You and Fern.
I fit that mold, especially early on. That was great. I mean, it fit me perfect. So that's why I was just running with it as far as I could, as fast as I could. But really the deal is the divergence was my business was growing so fast and the sport was growing so fast. Like holding on to both reins was almost impossible.
That's what I wanted to ask you because I'm thinking back. I'm going back in the Wayback Machine, thinking back in the journal. You guys were featured in the journal like pretty regularly at that point. What was your business like back then? Because most of them were just, let's be very frank, not good. But I feel like
It was CrossFit Central and Albany CrossFit.
right.
That was it.
And people were like, oh, "Is Albany? What is that place?" but Central, I think, was one of the first boxes that people at least mentioned that had like a flavor of like those guys are doing what we're all supposed to be doing. But that's what we saw. What was it like when you guys started?
Yeah, again, I'm entrepreneurial business and very much wanting to develop and build my skill sets so I can apply it to my business and make it great. And we are committed to excellence and producing excellence. And be it the sport or be it the business, we were creating systems and structures and operations that could allow us to scale and be the best in the world. And so I was applying that and reading and devouring and educating myself as much as possible so I could produce what I believe was what I would consider like setting the railroad tracks and laying it as we were going. And we were figuring it out because the whole concept of unlimited or, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, that was being built as we were going. So what was unique in the early days, which I believe was the best practice at that time, and I still think it is better, we had the limited schedule approach where you could only buy 3 days a week and 2 day a week membership. The unlimited model didn't exist in our business model. And what it did was we really did group training as if it was private training.
Private training.
But it was a group of 12 people coming together at a set time that they were committed to, that they worked out at.
Right.
And what it did is they were consistent. They were training. They were following a nutrition protocol, and they were getting ridiculous results versus it's kind of like unlimited. You come, you don't, accountability's lower. How do you check in? Who do you know if your coach is checking with you? So there's a lot more challenges. And so we hit this in 2012, 2014 when the market just exploded.
Yeah.
Austin went from, we had maybe 50 affiliates to 100 affiliates. And then the unlimited, the whole ecosystem was disrupted because price comparison, unlimited for 150 versus a 3-day week or a 2-day week for 150. Unlimited is at 200. So this is a better price. And so the market just got skewed, and the explosion and then quality and all those questions that were in play, which was a frustration to a lot of different affiliates wherever they were in the marketplace, challenged our approach.
But do you guys still have only limited, or have you moved?
We have unlimited
Right.
and 2-day week service.
I think one thing,
so
though,
unlimited and 2.
We
That's
offer
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
but I think
I'd
one
be curious
thing,
to see what the breakdown on that is, like client-wise, in those two buckets.
Yeah, I would say it's like a 60-40.
Really?
60
pretty
on
good.
unlimited? Or
60 on
60
unlimited.
unlimited.
Yeah. That's more than I would have guessed, honestly.
Yeah.
But something Jeremy was doing better than most people do with that is most people just have the unlimited and then limited with no real difference there. You were running those limited options more so as a way to hold people accountable. Like you can almost be like, hey, you're going to be here tomorrow as one of your 3 days, right? Sally, and you're going to eat right and all that, where a lot of people just kind of set it there. Those people never truly buy into CrossFit because no one's holding them accountable, following up with them. So I think done the right way to almost make it like individual group or individual training in a group setting to bring that price down, which is really the CrossFit model.
No, that model alone, like our results that people were getting was so ridiculous. The level of body fat loss, just getting lean, performance, because it's very precise, very clear cut. This is what I get. This is when I get it. And this is like the service. And I respect that because this is the time I got to go. And we know that's how people just naturally operate. Versus unlimited, I'll come, I'll go, I'm not that committed. It changes the scope of the commitment.
Did you have people locked into their times as well?
We did.
Right, so
Yeah.
I'm the Tuesday, Thursday, 5:30 guy.
Yep.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, and there was a fear of loss because it was like if that class could be capped, like you're capped,
Right.
you can't get in at 5:15 or whatever. And so we just had this massive, and we were able to maximize our floor space. At one point at our 3,500 square foot space with 2,500 square feet, we had 500 people in that facility. I mean that facility alone,
How many classes a day were you running?
probably like 9 to 10 classes.
But
a
you were
day.
lifting how often they can come
Limited
in.
how many times, how often they
that
come.
makes more sense.
And so, I mean, it was $1 million box, and it was just like, it was crazy. It's
What
like
year is this?
2009 to 2011.
That was back, there was kind of this idea of a closed membership model and an open membership model.
Right.
So that was like,
So I just toot my own horn. Like, I created that model. That was my model.
toot your horn. No one else does that on this show. Somebody should.
I don't think if you were to ask people if they thought that somebody was doing that revenue back then, I don't think anybody thought that was a thing.
In 2012, we did $2.3 million in revenue.
Out of one, right? Because you
No,
had multiple.
We had multiple
Yeah, yeah.
locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, that's
And
not
we
that's
had,
not the
we
down.
had, we had boot camps. We had one primary location, and then we had satellites where we subletted space. We had 1,000 paying customers
between all the locations.
between it all.
I mean, that's a good business model. I mean, that's smart. Like, again, this is what I was bringing up earlier, is like you were doing things that people are now still struggling to figure out, like more than a decade
I mean, that's 5 times what the average box is bringing in today.
probably more than
And-
5
yeah.
times.
But, I mean, that's 9 years later.
That's my point,
Yeah.
right? What do you think has been a big hang up with that, right? Because that's still a hump that many, many people just can't get over. Meaning, like, they're just stuck at, I mean, we pop the hood on a lot of affiliates. Marcus, you pop the hood on way more than I have. Average I see is like 10K. You're
A month.
doing
A month.
a month, right? You're doing 20 times that.
Well, again, it goes to all professions and businesses, and we're looking at there's a professionals, there's amateurs. So number one is like how much time. What I've come to realize is that these facilities are energy buses, energy boxes, and it's like the amount of energy that's put in by the owners and the coaches and the staff really is reflected by the client base and the revenue, because it's all transference of energy, which equates to our dollar amount. And if you're putting boatloads of energy, if you have a full-time job and you're doing this part-time, well, it's getting a percentage of energy, so it can't rev up to the point where it can generate the revenue. So like the biggest thing I see in ups and downs of businesses is like who's holding the space, who's supplying the energy, which is accountability, programming, execution, operations, and all that to scale to a level that you can produce that. So I see the world in two fronts. We got the material world, but we also have the energetic world, and how are we operating and functioning within that with the systems and the structures that are put in place to maximize results and return. And if you're doing that on a systematic way, you can scale. So if you're doing 10,000 in revenue, now this is one thing that now I really respect is I live in a metropolitan area that is booming.
Right.
So we can't take a country affiliate and say this. It's not fair. So I think that there's different marketplaces that represent
100%.
what is possible. And when we
But I do think it's relative, though, right? So I agree with what you're saying. But again, like real estate is not the same in a rural town as it is in downtown Austin in this space where this is a beautiful. We're in a massive space here. So,
10,000 square feet.
but I
at
agree with
least.
the energy aspect of it. But I do think it's relative. So, but I also, in the same breath, would say you can't do apples to apples there. It's like
there are thresholds
Right.
because some towns some people I've worked with have a town of 3,000. There's just a very low ceiling to what you can do in that town.
But 15K out of
With
that
this
box
business
might be
model.
crushing, though.
Yeah, but I see that's
Correct.
what I think about, like small country, whatever communities. Those are so awesome, because if you do it right and you have 100 to 150 members and your overhead to operate is $3,000, you're crushing it.
Crushing it.
And you can a one-man owner operator, 2 to 3 part-time or one other part-time, and y'all are just doing it and doing it really well. The community vibes there, and you're making money. Not only that,
No doubt.
if you own your real estate, you like that is, and that's really
Game
what
changer.
took me so many years to understand. Is like if you as a box owner own your real estate, you're executing at a high level, you have a healthy, dynamic community, you're making income, you have a business, an asset that you can retire with and have a lifelong relationships that's going to serve you like for your future. So
Well, more importantly, but to that point, which is this is the I'm not in it for the money. Every CrossFit affiliate owner ever apparently is just like, I'm not in it for the money. But I don't think what people realize that kind of benevolent nature will only expand, right? Like you'll only do more of that if you're taking care of yourself first, right? I know multiple gym owners. And Marcus, you probably know, we all do, just like they went from nothing and they were giving, and then they start to get some momentum on that, and they don't stop giving at that point. They give more, right? They do more things in the community. The box gets better. They're in there interacting more, and I think that's people should look at it, kind of like the energy concept that you're talking about. Being successful, generating revenue, getting people results like that. Most box owners, most coaches, like that gives them energy, which means I only have more to disperse.
I like that. And one of the things Fern and I always recommend, and you must have done it, is filling your own cup, where we talk about, hey, put on your calendar when you're going to work out. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're getting a good night's sleep. Those were all things clearly you were doing because you're running this great affiliate, but you're also still making it to the CrossFit Games.
absolutely.
What's your advice on something like that for affiliate owners?
Yeah, today, again, understanding that, what I could say now is like excellence for excellence sake. Where are we going? What are we doing and why are we doing it? And then everything comes from that drive. And so understanding the individual in person and how they're orchestrating their morning routine, their evening routine, their daily routine. At this point in my career, when I look at it, the basis of human performance, whatever it be, is based off of your routines. And the quality of your experience is based off of your routines and how you structure what you're doing for yourself so you can input and give to others. And so it's fundamental. If you start to neglect aspects of yourself, your performance will decrease. And so it's based off, again, a mindset of fear, or, if you're fearful, you're not going to work out because you don't have the time. I'm not going to eat because I don't have the time. That's a limited mindset. If you're in that abundance mindset of what you need to do to serve yourself, to serve others, you understand that it's an ecosystem that we're applying to. But out of fear, you can't operate from that. And I think that we get so over our skis that we can't, and we're operating out of a poor place of fear that we limit, we're not eating, we're not training, and then we start to degrade, our energy degrades, and then our business degrades, and then we're burnt out and we want out. And I'm not saying I haven't done it perfect. I would say like 2015 was a rock bottom year for me.
How so?
Oh, it's a whole nother podcast, my friend.
You got to pay extra for that.
Vern is a great therapist if you want to lay down on a couch.
I'm like, what is awesome about 2021 is I've gone from the pinnacle to the pit of hell and back to where and I see this going like, man, where my arrogance, where my lack of empathy was, where my understanding and lack of experience was. And like now what's awesome, I feel as though I got a second chance, and where I'm like, wow, I can do it right. And understanding like what taking care of yourself looks like, what service looks like, what humility looks like, and actually employing that into the marketplace and servicing my coaches, my clients, everybody that I come in contact with to bring them the best value that I have for them. And so it's such a great, time to be able to, because I never quit, and that was the one thing that's like, what I love about this space and my commitment to it is that I just kept going forward. But in 2012, I had a son. I signed a lease that I should have never signed. The overhead was gigantic, but out of arrogance and ego, we have 500 members there. We're going to sign downtown. We're going to get to 700. But marketplace shifts and changes, and the expansion of all the CrossFit boxes, doing CrossFit for 9 years, beating yourself into the ground. No, I didn't, that mindset of go hard and don't stop, no overtraining. Yeah, it caught up to me. So I have a child, I have a box. I'm making 70 grand a month. I'm spending 75 grand a month. Why? The math doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And then whenever you have a gym split, then you have a 3-year-old, you're married, your life changed, you're not the athlete you are, and it's like, boom, it was like the perfect storm.
What was that moment?
What was the perfect storm moment?
What was the moment where you're like, this is rock bottom?
So it like walking in, so 2014 we have a gym split. So that was in the back half. We go to the games that year, our team does. Back half of 14 we have a gym split. My son at that point is 2 years old. And going into 2015, I'm cratered because we lost $30,000 of recurring revenue overnight.
When you say gym split, do you mean because you opened a second place or because somebody left?
Ownership split.
Staff, management left.
Right. So you lost, when you say 30.
Third of my revenue
to the other box.
Left to another box.
How's that relationship now?
It's been over 8 years, and you talk about therapy, and it's like I'm very introspective and reflective, and the process of all that is like it was a necessary process that I had to get to my real actualization of who I am, what I was and what I wasn't, and how I could grow and mature as a human being and get to where I need to be from a spiritual, standpoint, and the process of forgiveness and letting go and understanding all that stuff. For me, I'm at peace. And so it's such a space of like, appreciation and all that good stuff. But like, from the standpoint of the people that left, out of a handful of people, only a couple are left, that other people, they've gone into their own lives and own things that they're doing. So, it is what it is now. And but reflecting back, it must have, it needed to happen for my own growth.
Right. Is that when you started? So you and Charlie Lima and Spencer Nix, do you guys still do is it once a month or?
We talk. It's interesting. After the pandemic, we jumped on phone calls. During the pandemic, we were going twice a week, just keeping each other sane.
Right.
Then it went to a weekly call, and then quarterly we get together, we bounce each other's box. That didn't start until probably like 2018, maybe 2019.
It's like a couple years after all that kind of went down.
Yeah, it was after that. But from 2015 to 2018, I was losing 10 grand a month at a clip. I was just losing.
So what led to as you're going through that, what led to, and then did getting into that kind of group. So kind of explain to everybody like what you guys do. So like I think more gym owners should do this. Everybody lives in this, this is my rice bowl. If I talk to you, you're going to steal all my ideas, and then there's not enough ideas or people to go around, which is just not the case.
Yes.
But you guys get together, and it's just not just business, but you guys talk like fatherhood, all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think that what we have is an alignment and belief. We're all Christian men, and that's our foundation.
Right.
And so we unify in that. Now, Charlie's in College Station, Spencer's in Dallas.
Right.
Charlie has 4 kids, Spencer has 3, I have 3. We all have been box owners for over 10 years. We all bring our own collective experience to this. So there's very equally and different, unique experiences.
And also there's a lot of maturity there now as you're grown. You're older, you have kids, you look things through a different lens now, which probably just makes everything better, makes the conversation. Like, I've known Marcus and Jay for a long time, and the conversations we have now, the things we discuss, they're all from a totally different place than they were 5-6 years ago, where I was just in a super fucked up headspace for a lot of reasons. But all that changed, and I would argue that probably the same thing for me is had to do with becoming a dad. Like, having kids reframes everything. You're like, oh, I don't know
for
anything.
The record, we do throw a poop joke in here and there.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Hey, listen, you put your socks on and you still shit your pants.
Yeah. So, but I think that where we speak to each other from where we've come, and what's unique about it, everybody's business is so healthy, and we're doing and we're open and willing, but a core of what we came to understand is the metrics and the health of our business from a financial standpoint is first and foremost so important. How are we tracking, monitoring what we're doing on a monthly basis? What is the revenue? What is our client base? What is the health of the business? And what is the profits? Mm-hmm. And we are open and share what that looks like for us and what we're trying to achieve. So we're there for each other. And it's an accountability that isn't hey, are you doing this? It's you speak it, do what you expect of yourself.
Right.
And it's a mutual respect that is unique. I don't think that anyone can just form that group, but I think it is a natural setting.
Well, I think just most people have not been open to that concept, and I think one of the things that you just participated in recently, which CrossFit brought back or created, was the summits, right? So you and Charlie both spoke at the summit. It was in Austin, right?
Yes, it was here at the box.
Oh, it was here. Okay,
yep.
Got it. Yeah. So, and I think that is a massive door being opened to a lot of people that have never been exposed to that before, which is sit down with another human being that's going through the same stuff, experiencing the same things, probably has messed it up worse than you in some extent, and then working through some of that together. You guys were doing that before. How's your business versus pre-COVID?
We are doing better than we've ever done. 2020
awesome.
was one of the best financial years I've had in 10 years. 2021 will be better.
So is ours. Ours is the exact same.
And it's accelerating because
Best Hour's doing well too. Best Hour CrossFit.
It's got 2 clients now. Yeah, it's up 100%.
100% retention.
Yeah, so we are excelling, but so many things have happened, and a big shift for me too was I did the Mayhem Mindset with Jim Hensel,
yep.
Rich's mindset coach and all that. And it was a real big shift for me. I did it in 2019, right before 2020. And his
timely,
very timely. And his curriculum is all about, your core identity. Who are you? He says, who do I be? And he helped me realize that inside of me, one of my biggest limiting factors was my emotional, mental health and how I was oscillating up and down because I was emotionally a child, and I was unwilling to take responsibility for my emotions. And they were running me. And it was so timely because in 2020 with the chaos, I was able to step back and evaluate from an unemotional standpoint of what we needed to do to execute what we needed to execute. And it was all written out and scripted for me of who I'm being in this situation. And it was such an accelerator for what we were able to produce in 2020, and keeping the just a straight path and showing up and producing results and being here for our community. And now, I live in Austin, and so like part of that is like people have been relocating here from all over
everywhere
the nation.
Yeah.
So I don't want to act like I was like, we did it. It's like we were consistent. We showed up. We produced a quality product, and people responded to it. And the culture, the environment, it's just thriving.
That's amazing.
You were prepared for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And good for you that hearing that story about your journey, that you did all this personal work right before the pandemic hit, I think is evidence that so many people, and this is a conversation we have all the time, that they wonder why they're struggling. It's because they're not willing to accept who they really are and get out of their own way by going through exactly what you described. And I think the pandemic for a lot of people was that breaking point, because it forced the hand to either deal with it or to just clam up and get worse.
I went through that. Like you and I had a conversation. I was like rock bottom right before that. And then I got on a phone call with him, and he was like, "Nothing you're telling me sounds anything like you, bro." And I was like, "Where the fuck you been, man?"
Phone goes two ways.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, all right."
Well, I want to speak to that because that, again, like I told you, I just turned 40 this year, and I kind of like crossed this threshold of how I view the world and my life and where I'm showing up. And like, it is, and it's like these deep set understandings now that identity, where you're operating from, is so important, and how you see yourself to yourself and how you see yourself to others. If you don't have a firm grasp on that, if you're not clear and very aware of who I am in the world and what I'm doing, then you're pretty much limited to that. And all self-help, and they'll speak to this, but it's like at the root of your business success, your relational success, if you don't have a clear understanding of who I am, you will have a lot of challenges.
It's a permanent ceiling, a glass ceiling that most don't realize is there until you acknowledge it, so that you can break through it, because you're only limited by your own personal beliefs around who you are, what's possible, what you can accomplish.
Absolutely.
Until you really distill that down for who you are and what that means in the world, you're going to keep bumping into that ceiling. I did the same thing for years. I had no idea why I kept hitting this kind of same level and then dropping back down and just getting more and more frustrated and burned out in the process. And it wasn't until something took a huge shit that I had to deal with it. I was forced to deal with it myself too.
Right.
And going through that process, then you start to recognize like I'm the common denominator.
Right.
It was me the whole time.
It's not you. It's
it just goes back to like what are you?
It's actually accurate.
What are you committed to? And like I understand like success and excellence and the pinnacle of your field, it's not for everybody. If you don't want to endure, you don't want to have pain, you don't want to like have all sorts of challenges, then like sit on the sideline. And I get it, because getting to the pinnacle of your sport, getting the pinnacle of your profession, it is not easy. You have to do the work and endure the pain and the growth that it's going to take to get there. And once you accept that for what it is, you're willing to walk through it to get to where you need to go. Because when you had that in your life experience, if you just said, I quit, I'm out, I'm not going to do it, then that is where you're going to sit yourself on the shelf of life, and that's where you're going to live. And that happens day in and day out 100%. In people's lives, no matter what it is that they're doing. So like when I think about boxes and what we're like, oh, if you're going to get us, like, are you committed to what life is going to bring at you? You aren't going to get there. And so it's just like with the sport, I think it transcends all spaces. Like, I want to go to the games. Well, let's look at your genetics first, and then let's look at your life, where you're at in your times.
You're not going. Yeah,
there's so many. There are real
extension.
World factors that
100%.
can you get there
Right.
or not. But we all have that. It's like the be the hero of your story, the William Wallace of your, like, you are the key character, and are you owning that as your identity? And so it's just.
What you said right there, I think, is really key, because I think it's relative. And a lot of people create these one-size-fits-all definitions of success. Let's take the CrossFit gym business, where you say, this is what a successful gym looks like. To who? because maybe to me, I also love doing, I don't know, basket weaving and being a full-time dad with my kids. I just want to be involved and have a gym. I just needed to survive, and I'm happy, right? So choosing your version of success, you must first figure out who you are and what you want and what success means to you in all these different areas of your life. Then you can take it and apply it. Because what you just described is the like, I'm going all in on this version. And I think that because that's your version of it. And for many people, they may hear that and think, well, that's not me, so I might as well quit. And the truth is that that's your version. You've clarified what it means to you. And every single person, and entrepreneur, I think in particular, because you're writing the rules completely. You have removed the guardrails, essentially. It is essential as early as possible to identify who you are and what success really looks like for you. And secondly, to be willing to revisit that, because you've been in this long enough to where you've now gone through full evolutions of this is who I am. I'm going to go win. It breaks down. You redefine success. You learn from it. You build a whole nother layer on top of it. We all go through these stages of life, these different evolution cycles. And being willing to then revisit it to check it back in. Does that still matter? Does that still mean the same thing to me? Will help you refine that permanent. What is the permanent carryover of who I am in these different evolutions?
Yeah.
What's one thing that you see in box owners specifically that they're not doing that they should be, that's kind of relevant to this topic, like either that they're not doing, that they're avoiding, that they don't want to acknowledge, like that they're uneducated on, or I just like if refuse to acknowledge the ignorance? Like what's one thing somebody's listening to is they're like, I should maybe start, whether it's personally or in the business?
The first thing that jumps to mind is the basic systems that is business that is expected in the marketplace. And they matter. They matter. Your website and how to get in contact with you and email you or call you, it matters. The way you check into class and get set up matters. The format of class matters. The way that you communicate and speak and create a professional environment matters. So the simplest thing I would say to a box owner is if you don't know that, go into 10 different businesses that are world class and get a reality check on what those look like. So I always say like the Ritz-Carlton, what does it look like to go into the Ritz? What does it look like to go to the W? What does it look like to go to these great places? And then take from them what they do to apply. So if you can do a lot of the basics really well, you're ahead. Is your gym dirty? It's like it matters. And if you can do these 12 things, these 15 things that seem irrelevant and make them matter and do them in excellence, you are already like, boom, you're there. Then you apply world-class, like you do personal development, your speaking skills, all the experiential side of things and elevate. Then you're above. But it's like, I say for entrepreneurs, it's support. Can you count? Can you do accounting? It matters. Can you count? That matters. But if you can't do the basics, so we look at basketball, can you dribble, shoot, pass? So
he was a D1 basketball player. Did you know that?
I mean, everybody
Is that why you
knows
brought that up?
I did. I didn't want to know.
All right, yeah, because it's a big deal.
So anyhow, just like, hey, I want to get better. What do I need to do? Do you need to buy new equipment? No. You need to make sure your gym is clean. There's a way to check in. There's a way to follow up with them. There's a way, like the basics.
That's the key. Nothing that you said just now is complex or fancy or Facebook ads, nothing.
Counting.
Counting's hard for you, but the point is that's what I think everybody's searching for, like this weird workaround. And it's no different than fitness. Like we're watching this class warm up, like they're going through there's no silver bullet. It's like do the work, do the basic things really. Let's not talk about your snatch until I see your air squat and you can't take it, do a squat that doesn't look like you're taking a dump in the woods. Like your business isn't any different. It's like I don't want to talk to you about like what your social media campaign is going to look like when you have no plan whatsoever on like running a class.
The other side of that is this. If you can't get people in your door, you will not succeed.
Yeah, there's no business without sales.
So it's like, so on the other side of that, like, yeah, you can have the cleanest gym, you can have the most organized, you have all that. But if you can't sell, or someone that works for you cannot sell, you will not succeed as a business. That is it. You got to get people in the door.
Right, but I agree with you 1,000%. Like the pyramid that we teach people, the base of that is sales, right? But I think people have misconstrued that for to be complex or fancy, when it's like, no, just do a very basic sale really, really, really well. Somebody hits your website, you call them back quickly, you schedule the appointment quickly, you sit them down, you ask them what they want, you book whatever your onboarding process is going to be, you treat it like a professional business.
Right. If
And none of that was fancy.
Gone to your site already and done the click or whatever that looks like, they pretty much want to join. It's up to you.
Yeah, that's the running joke is like the
yeah.
only way they're not buying is if you run out and take a dump in the middle of the floor when they show up. And you're like, all right, do you still want to join? Like, no, I'm good. Thanks.
And going back, well, you know, you have some people that, but going back to what you said, Jeremy, like without all those other things happening, those people come into the gym and like Fern just said, there's a turd on the floor that changes things. So it's very cyclical, right? It's like
well, it's both.
you
It's
have
the
to have
technique and
It's the
intensity.
same thing. I
Yeah.
think it's just another category
Right.
of the same fundamentals, right?
Right.
It's like running a great class. Being a good salesperson just means in this business you are responsive, you're professional, and you do what, like you said, the basics. How can I help you?
so
Like
so
just
talk
do
us
that.
through.
It's the same as running a clean gym.
Talk us through it. Somebody, you must have had 5,000 people over the years come through your doors, right? Somebody says in the greater Austin area, I want to check out CrossFit. Google search, you know, whether it's because you appear first or you're just the closest. What's that look like from the user perspective?
Well, you know, it's a good question. I think today people want to. So I mean, the simplest format is like you can go to our website. We have a north location. We have a downtown location. You click if you want
Which
to.
one is this, by the way?
This
This is
downtown.
downtown.
Downtown?
Yeah, we're downtown, and so
Because we're downtown.
I just let you drove since we got here. I don't know where we are. I knew there was a Starbucks. That's about it.
and so if they want to check out our gym, it's a $30 fee to come in and do a class
For the first time.
first time.
Like new to CrossFit?
New to CrossFit.
Wow, that's unusual, right?
I like it.
I've never done CrossFit. I'm interested in learning more. It's still $30.
$30.
Wow, that's cool. And what happened? What do they take a standard class or they do?
They'll take a standard class.
Okay, and then we take this class, and despite having 300 double unders, we're like, I kind of like this thing. Now what?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have world-class coaches. They're going to be able to scale it appropriately.
So like 8 double unders for me.
Perfect. So, yes.
No, 600 singles. My bad.
once they do that, if they lack the skills because they don't have the previous experience, they'll go through our Elements 2 sessions, get the basic
2 sessions.
2 sessions
Element session.
with a trainer.
How much is that? If you don't-
150.
For the 2 sessions. I think
Yes.
that's fair price.
The $30 will go to
Rolled
your
in.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
that makes sense.
So 120 now.
Yeah.
So either $30, I'm never coming back here. That's you kept it, or I'm interested in doing more. I've never done this. 150 for 2 more, and then they roll into membership. What about? Do you distinguish if someone's like, hey, I've done CrossFit before?
Yeah, we
What's
do
that?
an experience. They pay $50 to come and do a goal and success meeting.
After the initial $30 session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that 30 will roll
So now
to their
$20.
50. So $20 you'll set it with our goal and success coach. They'll do your InBody if you want to do a body fat test.
So it's an option. You
To
don't
do the InBody.
They-
They don't have to do the InBody
But I
unless
assume most
people do
right.
it. Yeah, and then we'll go over what their goals are, what they want to accomplish while they're here, and it gives the opportunity to share our nutrition coaching program and other ways that we can help them. And then we run 3 programs. We have a HIIT class, we have a CrossFit class, and we have a barbell conditioning class. And so we expose them to what the options are for what their goals are. If I want to get stronger, if I want to get better at Olympic lifts, and I want to specialize there, you can go to our barbell conditioning. That's what's happening right here behind us.
Okay.
That's our CrossFit space right over there. And
So you
then
have simultaneous classes going on. Barbell conditioning here, and then those guys are doing
CrossFit.
standard CrossFit.
And then we have HIIT that's on the turf outside.
So throughout the day, do they all 3 run at the same time?
Only in the AM we run all 3 at one time. We have like 30, 35 people going at one time, but all different classes.
And then
Got it.
this is 4:30, so is this just one of the few times in the evening that they happen to be running at the same time?
We have a 4:30 CrossFit, 4:30 barbell, 5:30 CrossFit, 5:30 barbell, and then a 6:30 CrossFit.
Got it.
So you have a lot of classes. there.
Thursday night we end at 5:30 though. Yeah.
Do your memberships give them access to all of them, or do
all
they have
3.
to choose?
They get all 3 options.
I like that little
Do
a
you
la carte.
encourage them to kind of stay in their lane though? Like you said you wanted to get good at the snatch, but I see you in the HIIT class. This doesn't make sense based on your goals. Do you have to have those conversations?
We don't. Is it probably a little bit more laissez-faire of where people want to go and what their goals are? But they have the options to choose, and everybody's a responsible adult. And what we have here is like,
You'd be surprised.
There's at least one non-responsible adult.
We definitely over the years have balanced, because that high level like coaching and like what that price point of that is per what they pay. I mean, you're talking like now $400, $600. We used to offer a $600 service, but we're only charging $200 for it. And so it's like that battle of like excellence and what they really need for what they're paying is like really to guide them and to give them the nutrition, the coaching, the guidance, keep them in their lane. That's a legitimate $600 service that we used to give, but we were only getting $200 for it.
Yeah, that's a big mistake. We talk to our clients about it. Like, don't forget the value you're bringing. I mean, we joke, like, you want to see what the world looks like. We all travel here.
Go to the airport.
Go to the airport, and you'll be thinking, I need to charge more than $150 a month because I'm helping this world. I want to ask you something about rates. Before that, though, you mentioned they do a goal settings kind of sit down. If you said, hey, I'm going to sit down with you, I'd be like, dude, sign me up. This dude, Jeremy, knows what he's talking about. You have other coaches. How do you get them up to snuff when it comes to goal setting? Because I think that's a word that kind of just gets thrown out there. Like goal setting.
It's so basic. Is it going through a process. We have a goals success sheet. So I don't run any of that. From the cells to them getting the program to sitting down with goals. So like from.
You're the gym mayor, as we like to call it.
Sure. If that's what you want to call it.
What would you call it?
I don't know.
Well, you could take that.
I'm the owner. I'm the owner.
You're here because you want to be here. Not just because we asked you to be here this time, but you enjoy being at CrossFit Central still to this day. And you probably walk around, know most of the people's names. Like Fern says,
it's
shake
fundamental.
babies.
I believe it's fundamental in running a healthy community. If it's not a community box, then I understand it's a business and all that. But to run a healthy community box, the owner needs to be present.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I used to on my ego used to err on like, I don't know half the clients. I'm a successful business owner. Look at me.
Third place,
Yeah.
2008 CrossFit Games,
Boom.
Division I basketball player, 2012
Exactly.
regional athlete.
Yeah.
That's what he's always shouting at me.
So-
you know?
Yeah, not at all.
So the question I wanted to go back to was, you opened in 2005. Did you grandfather people in at a rate at that point? Or set a rate? Like, hey, this is your rate? Basically, I want to get to, did you ever have to navigate a rate increase?
I mean, we've increased rates. I mean, we now are, we in the pandemic, we do a weekly rate. We moved to weekly pay.
Right.
And
Yep,
so
that's
we
what we
moved
do.
off the monthly. So it's $64 a week for unlimited.
And that gets put on the card weekly.
Weekly.
So what people don't understand about that listening is that yields more than 12 payments. That's something Fern and I talk about, billing on a 4-week cycle versus a monthly cycle. It's like if you had a real job, you get an extra paycheck every year by doing that. Not to mention, for a lot of people, that's helpful that they're only getting billed 64 weekly versus 240 or whatever that 256, whatever it comes out to a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you decide to go there?
When the pandemic hit, we wanted to raise rates, and then we were looking
During the pandemic. It's crazy.
Smart.
whenever we lost 30%.
That's us right there in a nutshell.
We lost 30% of our membership base, but we maintained 70% through the whole,
Of your revenue.
of client.
Client base.
You lost 30, so you
Yeah, you
maintained
lose
70.
other revenue stuff in there, but that's
Right.
actually really good. I think average across the gym industry, all gyms was like 40, which means some gyms were losing like 80%.
Right, so you
revenue.
maintained 70% of your members from the first day of the pandemic till reopening.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
And then what made you want to increase rates during a pandemic?
Well, it gave us the opportunity to reset the table, reorganize all of our revenue, profits, what we were charging, and the best way that made the most sense to me was moving to a weekly rate. There's different coaches out there teaching it. It made sense to me and allowed us to increase our rates. And we grandfathered everyone in.
To their current rate.
To their current
divided
rate.
by
It was $235 a month.
and divided by 4. Or did you multiply
What?
times 12
S-
divided by...
same,
He just
same,
left
same.
them. He
Oh,
left
you
them.
left
Same,
them. They still get billed monthly
Yep.
is what you're saying.
And,
Gotcha.
and my idea was that even in this time, like our turnover rate, and we're a unique gym. We're not, again, a country gym or a rural gym. We have high turnover. Like we have turnover. So
Like what's churn for you? Like what do you know what it is?
I do. I mean, I would say like I don't have the percentage exactly what I would say, but like it's at least like 7. High month would be 10%.
That's
fantastic.
No, that's great. Like
It doesn't. Whenever you're wanting, like whenever you want to retain, like it's pretty. It's like
Everything stinks.
Well, it's
like-
also
yeah.
how many members do you have right now?
our 236 so we have 300 paying customers. So I just measure it very specifically because it frustrates me like hell because we have 296 members, but we have 236 paying unlimited 2-day week clients.
Right.
Then we have
for the record, only count people that pay you as active clients, not just the active profiles that you have in Wodify or
I've got
Zen Plan.
1,000
I
profiles.
got 1,000 members and I make $5,000 a month. I
yeah,
don't know
super
what's wrong.
frustrating because and this is something like with Charlie and Spencer we like have dialed down. So when we talk, we're not talking apples and oranges. We're talking paying, co-ed, unlimited 2-day week members. Then we have open gym membership. That's $99.
So that's the 60. That's that gap there that you're referring to, because you said you have 296, but 235 or so are paying members. The rest are straight up open gym.
Open gym plus private training, different services that we will.
This woman's been here for 5 hours, by the way. She has been here all day.
She's
right?
one of
Am
our
I
longest.
right?
She's been with us since 2000.
It's the same woman, right? She doesn't have a twin sneaking in?
No, that's her. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's also
been
fitter
training-
than you.
Yeah, she's way stronger than me.
She's like 54 or something like that. She's been with us for a long,
awesome.
In fairness, she's wearing lifters. I could probably lift the same with those pink lifters on.
What's
So-
having done the summit recently, because we probably don't want to get in the way of your 4:30 class, which we already kind of are, but
No, we're fine. This is good.
no, never mind. We're gonna be here for another 3 hours then. You've been to the what do you think about the summits? Number one,
They're great.
Who's
Yeah.
the district lead
So
here?
needed.
Grace out
I
of
don't-
Houston.
I don't know
Just-
who that. I don't know who
Okay,
that is.
cool.
Okay,
I trust you. I trust him.
No, I know some people here, and they said it was great. They said you, Charlie, and the other presenters were awesome. What's your outlook for the future? New leadership, things they're doing, all that kind of stuff, just for CrossFit affiliates specifically.
I think that the sky is the limit, and what is happening with Eric and with the partnerships we're moving into a new era
Right.
of what fitness professionals will be in the health space. And so when we look at preemptive healthcare and what is happening and where we're going in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we are the boots on the ground. And I've always kind of known this. So it's like when we look at the wearables and when we look at the data metrics and we look at the blood panels and we look, the highest educated operating professional trainers will now be preemptive healthcare.
Right.
And we will have relationships with doctors, just like what CrossFit is setting up, and it will revolutionize what healthcare is in the United States.
Let's
And
hope so. Let's hope so.
We can
I-
only hope.
I agree. I think we're getting ready to go through what 2013-14 were for CrossFit was going up on this peak, but I think that peak is 10x what we're about to go through over the next 3 to 5 years.
I'm trying to get CrossFit mandated still. Like mandate, you
I know
have
you feel
to
about
do.
those mandates.
We
Yeah.
have to do CrossFit. Wait, but Fern, we jumped the gun. I still want to go back to this weekly thing. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So you had your people that you grandfathered in,
Yes.
and then you said, okay, going forward, I'm going to charge weekly. So someone new joins, they give you the $30 drop-in, or they decide to go to the $150 for the 2 sessions, and then it's going to be $64 a week
Yes.
every
week.
regardless of when they start, or do you try to prorate it to get everybody on the same?
Whenever they start, that's your week. That's your start of your 7 days, and then your build on that date or that
What are you using to run those processing fees?
Wodify.
Wodify does
Yeah,
the
that's what we
does
use,
the weekly billing.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
set up however you want.
Yep.
And you let everybody else. Did you offer the option to go to weekly for your grandfathered in people at their current rate, or did you say you're either paying monthly or we do weekly?
We didn't really give them an option. I mean, they had the best deal. That's what they were doing, so we didn't change
Left it
anything.
alone.
Left it
Would
what
you?
it is.
Yeah.
Are you going to consider adjusting them, or are they grandfathered in for life?
That to be determined. Right now, we're just grandfathering them in. I mean, we have people who've been with us for a really long time, but we've increased those people's rates too.
Right.
But as of right now, we just leave it. We're doing good. We're really healthy. Our margins are good. We like to be at what I consider our base. We're marching right now. We're like last week we were at 242. This week we're at 238, 236. It's like getting to 250 is what I call our floor. That's where we're super healthy, profiting, and everything over that is just better, right? But a big thing I came through too is like whenever there's these thresholds of volume, employment, and management, and at 250, we're really strong because at the top, that'll put our membership base right at like 315, 320 overall servicing. And we're in downtown also. We see over 100 to 150 drop-ins pre-pandemic, post-pandemic on a monthly basis. So like in my 12 noon class, we had 8 drop-ins, probably because of Rogue Invitational, but we see boatloads. So we average about 25 memberships that are sheerly drop-ins that equate in financials.
So that's a significant arm of your business. It's just drop-ins.
Yeah, it's
the same in like New York, Chicago has the same.
Orlando, Disney.
Yeah.
Has Matthew McConaughey dropped in?
He has not.
Joe Rogan.
No.
Ryan Holiday.
No.
The Rock.
Ryan Holiday's not a CrossFitter, but,
One day.
I seen him at a birthday party with his kids.
Did you?
Yeah.
I tried to get him on the podcast while we were here. I love his books. I mean, I read the Daily Stoic every day.
Yeah, he's out in, where is he out? East of town. He's got a bookstore. You go to his bookstore.
Oh, we should swing by his bookstore.
Yeah, I'll go sign a book for him.
I got a book. I mean, I don't know if he
a
carries
random book on the shelf.
I don't know if he carries best hour of their day at his bookstore, but if he does,
I'm gonna sign a book.
he needs to do some
Fast
CrossFit.
drop.
He's looking a little.
That's
too,
where he is.
He's looking.
He's
a
a
little
runner
too,
swimmer.
Yeah, he's too skinny. He's too skinny, that dude. Yeah. So the Stoics had a bit more muscle than he does.
Wow.
So,
no comment.
So okay, going back to you, the questions you were asking. Fern, during our lecture, talks about the health of a box, and average revenue is something you're talking about, retention. What about owner responsibility? Are you currently still doing anything in 2021 that you don't enjoy doing?
I would say no. I had to get the tickets for the Rogue Invitational printed out today. And I was like, asked my biz ops manager to like, she was like, you have the tickets. And I was like, well, can you print them for me?
Here's my email password.
So like, that was like the deal. But like one thing I learned, like being in this space, like I used to pride myself on not being a coach, not being on the floor. Like, look at me. I have a systematic operating functioning gym. And I'm like, no, like I think it's also, you should be on the floor.
Yeah.
Because it creates, again, the culture, the dynamic, the pulse, the vibe.
Trickle down too, right? Like your coaches see that.
Absolutely.
How many classes do you coach a week?
So right now, I'm doing, I have 8 classes I'm coaching a week right now.
I think that,
Sweet spot.
Yeah, I think that's
that's great.
That's a great number. A couple a day, you still maintain high energy. Fern, if you had to put CrossFit Central on the continuum, where would you put it?
I think we're going to classify them as fit.
Yeah, so we
sure.
we make the analogy between the What is Fitness lecture. You can track any metric as sick, well, or fit, and it seems like all of your metrics are at fit. I mean, retention, right? We definitely would have to assess, but while your churn, it's not
That
super high.
percentage is great.
Right?
No, that
It's still
percentage is great.
But you're
I mean,
also
like,
bringing in more people every
That's what I'm
month.
saying.
Yeah.
So that's just, he was just talking about churn, but that's not, he's probably still netting above, right?
What do you think you're netting every month with that
like
churn?
like clients, are you still growing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then you're positive. Yeah, so then that falls in the fit category. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, dude, you have a fantastic box here. We're like kind of watching this class go down over here. One thing that I've been kind of like watching out the corner of my eye, like your coaches have done a good job like walking everybody through everything. Like this is definitely not a free for all going on over here, which is again speaks to kind of what we started this with, which is the professionalism of that. It's not just like come in here, you grab your barbells. I've watched almost this whole class go down in the background in here. It's been stepped through. So, bravo to your coaches for that.
Especially, I've seen 2 classes running simultaneously just become
it's
such
a
mess.
disaster. Yeah.
And it could be loud. We got us recording over here, but he's still drawing them in for. This is mid-class.
Yeah.
And he's got all of their attention, and it looks over in the CrossFit side like they're doing the same over there. So that's exceptional. We had somebody join Affiliate U, and we asked her box name, and she said CrossFit Central. Remember, Nina?
Oh, that's right. And I was like, no, you can't have that one. It's
And we
taken.
were like, wait, is it? And we were like, and I remember thinking like, oh, did Jeremy
gave up.
sell
He gave
his
up.
box? And we were like, hey, you can't name your box
I was like,
CrossFit Central.
Yeah, I'm not home office, but I'm pretty sure that one's not available. Yeah.
You were one of the first boxes, though, to have like a brand. And it still holds true to this day, kind of like those I don't know what you'd call them, mirrored C's, if you will.
They're also horseshoes, I'm pretty sure.
Are they horseshoes? No, he said no.
All right.
What, you know,
Yeah.
I got the Coco Chanel logo, and I told my designer, I was like, this is my logo. And he goes, no, that's Coco Chanel's logo. I was like, no, that's my logo. He's like, you can't just take someone else's logo. I was like, well, make it like that. And that's what he did.
Done.
Change it enough for me to not get in trouble.
Yeah. Is this IP theft or what are we doing right now?
but that logo's existed for quite some time.
Yeah.
Far
You-
back as I can remember.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, back in the day, most logos were like,
Microsoft
Garbage.
Paint.
yeah, I mean, I remember finding my first was like ACF. Like, let me just put these letters. There's my logo. What made you think back then to like, okay, this needs to be a brand?
Yeah, I was just super into creating my stamp, creating my brand, doing like in sales, marketing. I'm first and foremost a sales guy. I'm a salesman. And then branding, you know, that was what I was going to do in the marketplace. And I wanted to create something that lasted forever, you know. And so it's like from all the studying and education I looked at, this is what I need to do to leave my legacy. And so I followed suit and did it. So definitely followed lead from educators, if you will, and just doing my research and knew that was going to, you know, is a really interesting I definitely wanted and created a global brand, you know, and that's what I wanted. And that's what I believe we had to do to make it happen.
Well, and like we said earlier on, I think you're one of the few boxes where when someone says a location, one box comes to mind. Even when we first said we're going to Austin, we're going to the Rogue, it was, okay, we want to go to CrossFit Central. What other boxes are there? You know, you were the only one we knew of, and then
All three of us said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to Central.
yeah, that was, you know, you and I were communicating as well as Fern, and it was like we were trying to lock you down so we can set everything else up. But I'd say there's a handful that are like that. I'd say maybe
Yeah.
South Brooklyn in the Manhattan area, and then maybe, you know, what used to be, you know, CrossFit NorCal or NorCal CrossFit in the California area. But
And
there's
what-
only a few that really stand out like
But
that.
I think it goes back to the reason that is because what he's been talking about throughout the duration of this whole conversation is, and he just mentioned it there at the end, which is the legacy aspect of it. And I think far too many people are kind of aiming for the basement instead of shooting for the stars and be like, what is my ultimate impact on the community, on fitness, on the world? And it may not end up being what you want, but you're going to get pretty damn far if you make the goal pretty audacious. And on that note, you know, like I think more people should pursue that. Like, what is that legacy? Like, what am I leaving behind? Am I going to have a positive impact on the people around me, you know, in the gym, in my personal circles, in my family? And I think it all gets honed in on, like, what is the impact I'm going to have with every single person that I come in contact with. And that needs to be a pretty aggressive goal. And that's kind of what you've done here from day one. And I think people should revisit the archives. They should go back and look at that stuff. And I think people should, you know, personally as an affiliate owner, I'm like, thanks for what you do, bro. Like, we want more people
100%.
that are leading the charge on that, because this CrossFit thing is pretty awesome. And we're not even halfway there, in my opinion.
Oh,
so
nice.
so
We're still
thanks for
infants.
what you
Off the
do,
ground.
bro, and thanks for having us.
Before
know.
you wrap it up, though, what's going to be your legacy in the CrossFit space?
My legacy in the CrossFit space. You know, I think that is setting the example. Where I go back to is like excellence, under excellence sake, and looking back and say whatever they did it like full on. So like I'm wearing my Fittest Experience competition hoodie. Like from what we do from our competition to what we do in the box is that we laid it all out there. And I speak for we as me and my sister Carrie Kepler, who started CrossFit Central together. And then
Is she still doing CrossFit?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, that name, I didn't realize that was your sister when
That's
you
my
had said
sister.
it earlier, but I mean, she was one of the
Yep.
OG names too. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, yeah. Because she
Yeah.
was at the same games as you, I want
She
to
got
say.
third in 09.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in the games in 10, 11, and she was 7th in Masters 40 in 2016.
Are you going to make a run?
It's a good question. The stars are going to have to align, but it definitely – so my daughter is 5, and she's already – like she's got a barbell, she's got a kettlebell, she's doing gymnastics. And so I really want to go – like when she's training, I would like to see her and I go to the games. So my wife competed at the games as well. So she's more fit than me, my wife. And so my daughter is kind of on that train. So – let's see what happens. She's, like I said, 5, she's turning 6 in December, so we got about 11, 12 years. So we'll see where I fall there. I just turned 40. So really my goal and objective is to last, at least to 50, because the guys in 40 are still extremely.
Hey, we're going to see Kyle Kasperbauer
So fit, dude.
next
Dude
weekend. He
he's
was
so
35 to 39. You got
so
Hobart.
fit.
You got Nunu's in that division. You got some.
It's crazy.
I mean, they're one step away from competing. Many of them could still be on the.
And when I say
Open
genetics again, like these guys, like genetically and built, like
I'm
they
glad
are,
you keep bringing that up because now I have a good excuse.
Well, people that played real sports, Jay, know what that means, right? They understand genetics, and I'm just not going to beat certain people. But going back to the question that Jay derailed himself on, yeah.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
no, yeah. So that in the sense of what we build and ultimately like
It's a train, everybody.
yeah, let that train pass
Train's
by.
coming.
Your ride's here, Jay.
Yeah, yeah, get on. This is that scene out of Oh Brother, We're Out There that we were talking about.
So I definitely out of the excellent standpoint and laying it on the line, like I want to create the ability to empower leaders because I think our society today needs individuals that can lead, not only lead others but lead themselves. And so I definitely know my practice. Like I've been in. Working personally on myself and doing tremendous amounts of work because there's so much more to do and more to give. And so I look forward to that opportunity.
Well,
Awesome. Well,
I'd like to say before we close it, you've been doing exactly what you've been setting out to do since the very beginning. As someone who's also been in the space and watching as a box owner, as a fellow consultant, and someone building companies in the space trying to serve this community, I'd say hands down, you've been leading by example and leading by example with excellence since the very, very beginning, man. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for having us here. I think my only goal for that was to talk long enough to avoid 300 double unders.
Well, mission accomplished, my friend. So we're going to stop interrupting their
Are
class.
you going to do the 5:30 class?
I think we
The HIT
might.
class.
Yeah,
Is there a
you
HIT
go.
class at 5:30?
That's an accountability coach right there. Yeah, thanks for having us, dude. We really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
One of these
Yeah.
dudes talking dads.
Dudes talking dads. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.